Hello to all. So here is an overview of B409 Machine Learning for Cybersecurity. We'll have two videos. This first video will pretty much go over the course norms, the rules of the road, the way we'll engage in the course. And the next video will be a look ahead. Neither video will be too long. So here's our battle plan. So I'll introduce myself. I am Dr. Paul Kometz. So I'll take a moment to introduce myself. We'll go over the important things in the syllabus, try to answer any questions you might have, and of course, if you have additional questions, as always, feel free to ask. We'll do a little bit of a course overview. I'll talk about your student introductions assignment, and you've seen this on Blackboard. And we'll have a look ahead, a preview of coming attractions of some of the really killer interesting stuff that we're going to do in this course as we look ahead. So without further ado, let's jump right in with both feet. So I'm your instructor, Paul Kometz, pkometz at uscb.edu. I have taught in prior semesters at USCB, but only as an adjunct. I'm now a full-time faculty member at USCB. I'm very happy to be there. I also teach at other universities. I teach at two different University of Maryland campuses. You see them up there. University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and University of Maryland, that's Global Campus. That's the online university of University of Maryland. I used to live up in the D.C. area, so that's why I have the University of Maryland affiliation. I also just started teaching at Southern New Hampshire University. And yeah, as the slide says, I was previously an adjunct at USCB. So you can see I've got all kinds of teaching going on. I teach because I love teaching and because I like to learn new things. And even with a course that perhaps you've taught many times, sometimes the person that learns the most in the classroom is the instructor. So just as you will learn from me this semester, I will learn from you as well. So it's win-win. Career, so I am a working engineer, and I'm still a working engineer. I'm currently what they call a senior systems engineer, but I wasn't always a senior systems engineer. I got my start, my first quote-unquote real job out of school. I was an embedded software engineer. I wrote assembly language code for embedded avionics, flight computers. My first aircraft was the U.S. Navy A6 Intruder, and I was an assembly language geek on A6, and I say assembly language geek with nothing but affection. I have very fond memories of those days. As my career progressed, I moved on into systems engineering. Systems engineering is where one takes a panoramic view of a system and is more concerned with the end-to-end operation of a system and how components play together, as opposed to being an expert on one particular system. And I like doing that. It gives you if you're a big picture thinker like I am, it gives you that opportunity to take this panoramic view. Now that said, there are still opportunities to take deep dives when when it's necessary. And that has happened to me plenty of times throughout my career. Moving along, in the heady days of startups, where there were startups everywhere, I was a big fish in a small pond. I was the director of software development at more than one startup company. Unfortunately, none of the startup companies were, ended up being wildly successful, but it sure was fun. Uh, I was also a big company program manager for a lot of years. I was a program manager at the Boeing company for many, many years. I worked in the Washington, D.C. area working on FAA air traffic management programs. These days, I'm a senior systems engineer, so I'm not a manager at all anymore. I'm a contributor, and I like that. I'm at that point in my life, that point in my career, where I prefer being an individual contributor. Um, like I said, I love to learn new things, so I am still, as it says here, I am still a student. I've got my academic path has been, I started out with a BSEE, a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. I decided I wanted to be a manager, and I got a Master's of Arts in Management and followed that up with a MBA, a Master's in Business Administration. And then I decided, no, I think I prefer the tech stuff more. So I went back and I got my master's in computer science and my PhD in computer science. Now at the bottom, but I say I'm still a student. I'm still taking courses. I'm not necessarily pursuing degrees anymore, although I certainly don't. I don't rule that out. Rule that out. But I want to share with you very, very briefly. And during some of our live sessions, we'll spend a little bit more time with this. There's great resources available online these days. And one that I like a whole lot is this one right here. It's called Coursera. Coursera was started by folks at Stanford University, actually a great artificial intelligence and machine learning person, someone who pioneered Bayes-nets, faculty member at Stanford, started Coursera. And there's literally hundreds of courses that you can take on this Coursera platform. Here's one I wanted to share with you. It's called Learn, and this one is completely free. Once upon a time, all the courses were free. And that's not the case anymore, but this one is now completely free. So it's called Learning How to Learn, Powerful Mental Tools to Help You Master Tough Subjects. And let them just very briefly show it to you. This is just a 4-week course, and this course, it's not about math, it's not about physics, it's not about computer science. This is a course where you learn about the cognitive process of learning. If you like this kind of stuff, I love this. It's fascinating to me. And you can see I've got week 1 pulled up here. 54 minutes of, and you can see I'm in mid-course, and I've taken it. I've taken this course a bunch of times. I come back, I come back and take it, about once a year. I do it. But here are just some of the things. And the delivery method, there's videos, there's readings, there's quizzes, there's, group discussions with your classmates. And you can see these are tools and techniques for helping you learn how to learn. I always tell students to take this course. It's free, and regardless of what you want to do, it will help you. EDX and Udacity are other similar. EDX was started by MIT and Harvard. Udacity was actually started by also a Stanford professor. And we'll revisit these later in the semester. At any rate, this is who I am. I'm here because I love teaching and I love working with you all. So we're gonna have a great time with this fun course this semester. All right, what are we gonna do in this fun course? What is all this fun I keep talking about? All right, so here, our course focus, we're going to look at multiple machine learning techniques with cyber applications, but we're going to spend a fair amount of time on techniques. This is a big space, and I made a typo there. This is a big space. There's a lot here. We can't learn it all in one course. We can't learn it all in two or three or four or five courses. There's a lot here. We've selected what we're going to do. We're going to look at selected techniques, and these are some of the more widely used and more useful. More of the mainstream techniques. And here, these graphics, which I know that these are eye charts. These are hard to read. But here's this just a simple regression. This is a linear regression. What's the idea here? You've got all this data. You've got all this messy data. And remember, data is messy. Data does not behave the way we want it to behave. But we want to try to fit a linear line to this set of data points. Here is also another technique for fitting data, for fitting messy data. This is called a support vector machine. And you see in these examples, and these are from scikit-learn. Some of you might know scikit-learn. In these examples, we've got some data here, and we're trying to classify it. This one here, although I know you can't read it, it's a pretty obvious. This is a tree structure, so this is a decision tree, and we'll look at decision trees. And see, I covered that up, so let me fix that. And the last graphic that you see, and some of you might be familiar with this, this is a neural network, and we'll spend pretty significant time on neural networks, and the whole second part of our course will be on neural networks, and we'll do a little bit of TensorFlow, and we'll work with a tool called PyTorch. Both PyTorch, a Python tool, and other language support is there. TensorFlow, also Python. There's other languages there as well. So this is sort of where we're headed, and we'll talk more about this. Class elements, lectures. We'll have labs and applications. What do I mean by labs in an online course? You're not required to come into USCB and take a lab or anything. But in some of our live sessions, we'll do some labs. We'll have some sessions where I'll probably talk for a little bit, and then we'll all work on something together. Activities, reading, plenty of reading. Homeworks, quizzes, exams, and projects. You may work with a partner on some assignments or some projects. We'll take that on a case-by-case basis. Classes, and here, see, this is another error. My apologies. Classes primarily online. Classes not primarily. We are primarily asynchronous and online. So let me fix that for you all. And we'll meet probably at least once every 2 weeks. We'll meet at least once every 2 weeks. Now, I said they'll be reading. A quick word about the book. I've gotten permission to post some, so we're going to read from a lot of different sources. I have gotten permission to post the book, chapters of the book. It'll be just a few chapters. There'll be lots and lots of other sources. So if you've bought the book, it's a great book. So it's a good book to have. But if you haven't bought it yet, I will be posting the chapters. So just so you are aware of that. All right. So some other class norms. Please, I ask you, even for an online course, please put your cell phone away during class. I mean, obviously, if you need it for multi-factor authentication, of course. Cell phones are the great distractors. Admit it. What do a lot of us do? we're just scrolling, and it's just digital randomness sometimes. So really, I think you do yourself a huge favor by putting your cell phone away. I ask you to do that even in an online, even in an online class. As you've heard me say a few times, this is a great course. We're going to have a lot of fun. A couple other things. So obviously this last one. So my bad. Whoops. That's not what I wanted to do. Sitting in front of the class doesn't really apply to an online class. One other thing, just class norms. Remember, universities have a very specific point of view. Keep your mind open to other points of view. And this is a great course for that because we're going to read from multiple sources. So just in general, don't get locked into a specific point of view. Develop your own point of view. All right. Useful assets and skills. So use of your own laptop, especially for an online course like this, is highly, highly. I can't say enough how important it is to have access to your own laptop. You're going to need to install and configure software. A fair amount. And usually college students, and especially folks like you that are majoring in a technical, a technical skill, are pretty good at it. I'll say the thing. Let me go out of order a little bit here. So, Python experience is required for this course. USCB uses Anaconda. I'm going to assume you all know about Anaconda. I know it's widely used at USCB. The download and the install is pretty easy. So no, I don't want to talk to the bot. The download and install is pretty easy. Anaconda, quite frank, and Anaconda has some really great, fantastic tools. You install this, and quote unquote, right out of the box, you have lots of cool things at your fingertips. Just to give it to you straight, I've used Anaconda for years. It can be a bit squirrely sometimes. It's very, very complicated. They're building it from multiple platforms, so maybe we shouldn't be too surprised at that. But yeah, it definitely can be sometimes a little bit misbehaved. And I've noticed, for example, I just did a clean install on a re-imaged laptop. The laptop was not brand new. It's a couple of years old. But it's a good laptop with 32 gig of memory and an i7 SSD, 2 terabyte SSD. So it's a good machine. I completely re-imaged it with Windows 11, and I eagerly installed Anaconda, and fresh, clean install, and it misbehaves a little bit. Yeah, not so much that you can't use it, but just a word about Anaconda. And your mileage may vary. And please take my comments with a grain of salt. Overall, Anaconda is a great, great tool, and we'll use it a lot. Networking basics, not terribly important in this course, but a little bit. A little bit. A lot of what we do, we don't even realize it sometimes, but we're using distributed APIs, and we're making use of distributed data sets, and we're downloading data sets. Not terribly important. And basics Unix command line skills. There are command line skills that we need to use. You don't necessarily have to use Unix. This is really mainly for you Mac users. You Mac users, you open up a command prompt, and Mac is actually Unix underneath. You will notice, though, for Windows users, we'll use something called, and let me just go to Anaconda here. So if I launch an Anaconda prompt, um, the and Anaconda, wait for it to come up. It'll take a minute. If I launch an Anaconda prompt, um, you'll need to do very Unix-like things at the command line because we use the Conda package manager. So Conda, yeah, how many environments do I have? Conda env list. That's a pretty common Conda command. And again, Conda is the package manager, uh, used by Anaconda. And we'll come back to that as thinking about it for a minute. Um, you're not expected to be an expert on any of these things, but you do need to have some proficiency. So here, just to come back, you can see I've got a lot of different environments uh, in my on my machine. I've got PyTorch, TensorFlow, Base. I've got another PyTorch. Uh, I've got a Spider environment, and another TensorFlow environment. Um, and later in the semester, we'll look at how to create these own environments. All right, moving right along. Everybody's favorite topic: grading and homework. You'll have a project worth 10%. I'll say a bit about that in a minute. Quizzes and exams worth 48%. We'll have a midterm and a final and a couple quizzes. Homework, super important. Um, I'm a pretty big fan uh, of lots of small homeworks, and the homeworks, quite frankly, are designed. The homeworks, are just designed with a couple goals in mind. First of all, to be very hands-on, which you want to be in a course like this, right? You want to be very hands-on, but they're meant to build your confidence. I'm not trying to, beat anybody up with these killer homework, homework assignments. There'll be some challenge in there, but it's not meant to be, it's not, I'm not out trying to, stump anybody or fool anybody with these really difficult homework assignments. Participation, I'll say a word about that in a minute. So midterm and final, several quizzes throughout the semester. Now, here's your project, and have fun with this. So I will give you a list of several cybersecurity use cases, and you can choose one. You may come up with your own cybersecurity use case and obviously the use case has to have a machine learning, where you can apply machine learning techniques to this use case. If you choose your own, all that I ask is that you let me know, run it by me, and I'll give you a yay or a nay. Chances are I'll give you a yay unless I see some reason where you've picked something that, is either outside of really the goals of the course or maybe is too challenging for you to be successful. But at any rate, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Your project is likely to be a neural network design, so I'm going to, one of the things, as we go down the stretch, we're going to be doing neural networks with PyTorch. So it's going to be fresh in your mind. So the project will likely be, and I'd like you to use a neural network and apply it to this cybersecurity use case. You will perform independent research, and you'll submit a report, a write-up, a paper detailing the work that you did. You'll give a presentation at the end of the semester. Obviously, you'll submit your project report and your code, preferably in a GitHub repository. You'll give a presentation online at the end of the semester, so you'll have a few slides. We'll do screen sharing, and you will be you will be the presenter. Um, I think I'm going to have you work with a partner for this class. Two heads are better than one, and some of this stuff, will make your head hurt a little bit, a little bit. We'll try to make it very accessible. Um, but you'll probably work with a partner. I'm going to ask you to do a one-page abstract mid-semester. What is an abstract? You're going to talk about what you're going to do. And the idea behind an abstract, of that, some of you will present papers at conferences, at some point in your life. And the way you get accepted to present a paper at a conference is you present an abstract that basically, talks about the work you did, and what your topic is about and what you're going to present. So we'll get some practice doing that, and again, more details to be supplied later in the semester. The emphasis on the project. I'll talk to you a little bit about it in the first half of the course, but the second half of the course, I'll talk to you about it. Every time we get together, I'll talk to you about it. There's much more emphasis on it during the second half of the course. All right, just a couple more things. Oh, participation. So attendance, when we have an online session, I'd like you to be there, especially since we're going to be asynchronous sometimes. When we do have an online session, I expect you to be there. The online sessions will always be during the assigned class time. So hopefully you've blocked that out on your calendar. Participation in class discussion, we will use the discussion feature. We'll discuss things during our live sessions, and we'll discuss things on Blackboard. Here's what I mean during live sessions. I don't want you to really just sort of turn on your webcam and zone out. And I don't say that to be, to be like a strict guy or something like that. Far from it. To get back to the thing I said about that Coursera course, Learning How to Learn, the cognitive science behind learning indicates that the more we participate, the more we learn. There's a vast difference between just listening to lectures and participating as an active participant in a discussion. Just listening to stuff, quite frankly, you don't tend to retain it that well. If you're anything like me, if it's a topic I really care about, I sometimes have to watch the video 2-3 times. So that's my goal for this participation. I also to talk about discussion posts. When there's a discussion on Blackboard, please do the discussion posts early in the week. The thing I don't want to see, if something is due, generally the homework assignments are due, and this is just logistics more than anything else. The homework assignments are due uh, at the end of at 1 week after they're assigned on the cycle of a class session. So if something is assigned on a Wednesday, it'll be due again. It'll be due the next Wednesday by 6 p.m., which is the normal class time. So what I don't want to see posts that are posted at 5 p.m. on the day they're due. The idea here, again, the idea being, I will always ask you, in addition to your own posts, I'd like you to read and comment on a minimum of 2 of your classmates' posts. If you post at the last minute, it's almost impossible for people to do that. Webcams, when we're online, when we're having a live session, please use a webcam. I want it to feel as much like a classroom as possible. And we all know, let's face it, when our webcams are off, we get distracted and we surf. Everyone does it. I do it. Everybody does it. So please please be engaged. Also, instructor's discretion. Now remember, this is only, only 2%. So, this sort of extended discussion I'm giving with you, it's not really that complicated. It's just a couple points. All right, expectations. You can read documentation. So yeah, here's the documentation on PyTorch. There's there's lots of documentation. There's API documentation. There's API tutorials. I'll just pick one at random. Here's one of the tutorials, and there's code samples and everything else. And this is the real, no fooling PyTorch documentation. I do expect you to be able to read and make use of this, and we're actually going to do a bunch of these tutorials. Here are the ones we're going to do. There's 4 tutorials here. This PyTorch fundamentals track. We're going to do intro to PyTorch, computer vision with PyTorch, natural language processing with PyTorch, and classification with PyTorch. And these are guided tutorials. They're pretty well done. They're pretty well done. So that's what I mean by read documentation. Research problems and find solutions. So you'll have to do independent research for your project. I expect you to be able to work together. When you go out into the world, you will be required to work with others. So work together with other students. Read and write Python code, and please do your own work. It puts us all in a very uncomfortable position when you don't. All right, just a few more things. Student intros. So student intros for you all, and I do this in all my classes. This is a Blackboard assignment. And again, this is something I have a very specific reason for asking you to do this. It's always, especially in an online class, it's really useful to have contact info, or at least be friendly, or at least be acquainted with someone else. There's always sometime you want to ask questions, you maybe didn't get something, and you can always ask me if you have a question. But there's a lot of value in discussing things with your peers. And again, just the act of interaction will help you. You will work with a partner on the project this semester. And maybe you'll work with this partner. That doesn't necessarily have to be that way. But if you talk to someone and you hit it off, hey, go for it. Say, hey, let's be partners right out of the get-go. You can be working together all semester. All right. Here are some things. These are just suggested things. I'd like you to talk about your goals and your experience and your background, but if there's other things you want to talk about, by all means, please do. Personal info is always fun. Like for example, I'm a musician on the side. I play bass guitar, both electric and upright, 6-string, regular 6-string guitar, electric and acoustic. I play a little bit of mandolin and even less keyboards. But that's the kind of thing, personal info. Do you play an instrument? Do you play sports? Do you like to read? What kind of books do you like to read? Or whatever it is. And you'll introduce your neighbor to the class in this Introduce a Classmate assignment in the discussion area of Blackboards. All right, we're almost done with this overview, with this class norm stuff. Just a few more things. recommendations and observations. Um, do the homework and the reading. Have good attendance when we have live sessions. Plain and simple. I've been in the classroom teaching for more than 30 years. Students that come to, and I can say with 100% certainty, students that come to class get better grades. End of story. It just, it's just true. Um, Students with poor attendance get lower grades. Are there exceptions? Yeah, of course there are. But overwhelmingly, both of these statements are true. So, have good attendance for live sessions. Since we only meet about once every 2 weeks, shouldn't be that hard to do. Um, do the homework and the reading. Again, based on my experience, the number one reason for poor grades is a failure to is a failure to do the work. It's not necessarily that you've done the work or you've tried to do the work and you couldn't do it. Actually, it's been pretty rare that I've seen that. Um, the reason people get into trouble is when they simply don't do it, when they don't try. So if you try, you'll do okay. The other thing, um, don't feel if you have an assignment to do and you're not happy with it, you don't think you've done it correctly, or you've left out some parts or whatever the case may be. Submit the assignment. You will always, always, always get partial credit. Conversely, if you don't submit the assignment, you'll get zero. You'll get zero. All right. I said this video is already longer than I wanted it to be. Um, we'll have another video where we're going to do a look ahead, sort of a preview of some of our coming attractions. But that's it for now with sort of the class norms, syllabus review, rules of the road, what is the class about, etc. All right. Have a great rest of your day, and stay tuned for another video. All right. Bye for now.